We'll be doing a reading passage together today. So, when I say we'll be doing it together, I mean that we will read it together. The purpose of doing a reading passage is not simply that we attempt 14 questions or we attempt 40 questions and उसमें से कितने correct हुए, कितने incorrect हुए. That is not the sole purpose of doing a reading passage. So basically, when you do reading, when you do listening, your preparation should not simply be what we call quantitative. It should also be qualitative in the sense that जब हम साथ में एक reading passage read करते हैं, you will obviously come across a lot of new words that you might not have been familiar with earlier. You will learn a lot of new things. You will be reading about maybe a new topic, a new subject. You will be gaining knowledge. You might be reading about something that could be helpful to you in your speaking test, during your essay writing. So, every reading passage that you read, that you solve, you don't only solve, you read, right? Every reading passage that you read, you consider it part of your preparation, not only towards improving your score in the reading module, but also that it contributes towards your writing, that it contributes towards your speaking, it contributes towards your overall language development. It helps you build a stronger vocabulary. It helps you practice reading. It helps you become more familiar with the language. It teaches you sentence construction. It gives you content regarding various topics. जब आप रीडिंग को इस तरीके से अप्रोच करोगे, then your entire perception changes, the way you read changes, the curiosity, the hunger with which you read changes, the attention to detail that you are able to give, that drastically changes. Thus, your accuracy in answering questions obviously changes, and automatically you start getting a better score because your target is no longer मेरे को खाली आंसर्स करेक्ट लिखने हैं, right? you're reading with a desire to read. एंड ये अक्सर हम नहीं करते हैं बिकॉज नॉर्मली प्रेपरेशन में हर जगह क्या होता है कि 1 घंटे का टाइमर लगा दिया, आप रीडिंग कर लो, 1 घंटे बाद हमने चेक कर लिया हाउ मेनी आंसर्स वे करेक्ट, हाउ मेनी आंसर्स वे इनकरेक्ट, फटाफट डाउट सॉल्विंग कर लिया. पर हाउ मेनी टाइम्स डू वी एक्चुअली get involved और immersed in the reading? वो आदत न होने के वजह से भी a lot of people they feel like they tell me, एग्जाम के पहले मुझे लोग बोलते हैं कि मैम हमने तो एवरी डे 5-5 रीडिंग टेस्ट करते थे, महीने में हमने इतने सारे रीडिंग टेस्ट किए हैं, बट फिर भी हमारा रीडिंग में स्कोर नहीं आ रहा है. तो उसके पीछे का रीजन ही ये है कि एक क्वालिटेटिवली करने वाले चीज को आप क्वांटिटेटिवली करते हो, आप नंबर गिनाते हो कि मैंने इतने मॉक टेस्ट दिए हुए हैं, इतने लिसनिंग टेस्ट किए हुए हैं. यू ओनली काउंट द नंबर्स एंड देन यू आर baffled and perplexed when you don't get the desired result. But I'll always come back and tell you, it's not as important to do 30 reading tests as it is to do 5 tests, but do them properly. Do them with an intent of actually wanting to read, not just focusing on the questions and answers. So, when we do reading together, it might seem monotonous, it might seem tiring, it might seem like, we are being very meticulous, we are going into details, हम उसमें से vocab भी देख रहे हैं, content भी निकाल रहे हैं. But I don't want you to read only in order to get correct answers. I want it to directly impact your writing, speaking, and overall language development. So, that is how I hope I've made myself clear कि हम reading किस तरीके से करेंगे. It's not going to be strictly timed, and it's not just going to be about how many answers you get correct. Having said that, I'll now share my screen. I've opened a website, वहां से हम reading करेंगे. I've shared the link with all of you as well. You will need to access the link, but not right now. As of now, we are reading something together, so you can only look at my screen. My screen that will suffice. Very quickly, we will look at the questions first. Questions एक बार देख लेते हैं before we start reading the passage together. Okay? So question numbers 1 to 9, ये अपना paragraph match the heading है, right? And I think a couple of you have told me कि ये वाले type का question आप लोगों को काफी challenging लगता है, काफी difficult लगता है. So इस test में काफी सारे paragraph heading वाले questions है. So we'll see if you're having difficulty, and if so, why you are having difficulty. ठीक है? So the reading passage has 7 paragraphs A to G. Which paragraph contains the following information? Write the correct letter A to G in boxes 1 to 9 on your answer sheet. And यहाँ पे आपको एक note दिया है that you may use any letter more than once. मतलब आप किसी भी alphabet को repeat कर सकते हो more than once, twice, thrice, depends. ठीक है? So यहाँ पे कितने questions है? 9 है. And A to G, paragraph 7 है. We have 7 paragraphs and 9 headings. ठीक है? So keep that in mind. पहला वाला, let's see what the heading is. An overview of the range of methods that have been used over time to document history. Yes, Aisha, you have a question?
Yes, ma'am. Whenever I try to practice reading, I am not able to find answer.
Okay, we'll get to that. Don't worry. It could be very much, हम किस perspective से reading को approach करते हैं. We'll be solving it together. हम अभी read भी खुद साथ में करेंगे. We'll find the answers also together. So I'll be able to see what your thought process is. आप कैसे answers ढूंढ रहे हो, right? So वो हम लोग को आज अच्छे से पता चलेगा साथ में करते करते. ठीक है? We'll
Okay.
see where you're going wrong. So I'm
Okay.
sure you're viewing this on your mobile right now. तो आपको
Yes.
comfortable है? दिख रहा है?
या मुझे दिख रहा है. मैं 10 मिनट में घर पे पहुंच जाऊंगी. Then I will join.
No problem. तब तक you can listen more carefully, maybe that will help. ठीक है?
Sure, ma'am.
Okay. So again, first heading, an overview of the range of methods that have been used over time to document history. Heading 2, the main reason why many historians are unwilling to use films in their work. Third one, a reference to some differences between oral and written communication. Fourth one, how most citizens today gain an understanding of history. Fifth one, how current student events are sometimes captured for future audiences. Sixth one, mention of the fact that the advantages of film are greater than the disadvantages. The claim that there is no official title for film based historical work, reference to the active role the audience plays while watching films, and last one, a list of requirements that historians see as obstacles to their use of film to record history. ये 9 के 9 sentences. हरिओम, आप एक और बार read कर जाओ in the way that I just read. All 9 sentences. Are you there, Hariom? If not, Kaushal, maybe you can read all 9 of them.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
First one is an overview of the range of methods that have been used over time to document history. Second one is the main reason why many historians are unwilling to use films in their work. A reference to some differences between oral and written communication. How most citizens today gain an understanding of history. How current students' events are sometimes captured for future audiences. Mention of the fact that the advantages of film are greater than the disadvantages. The claim that there is no official title for film-based historical work. Reference to the active role the audience plays when watching films. A list of requirements that historians see as obstacles to their use of film to record history.
ओके, ऑब्स्टिकल्स का मतलब होता है अड़चनों, राइट? रास्ते में जो रुकावटें आते हैं, दे आर ऑब्स्टिकल्स. And Hariom, I have received your message. I am recording this. You're occupied probably at work. Recording mil jayega, don't worry. Okay, now let's quickly look at question numbers 10 to 14. ठीक है, 10 to 14 is simple, true, false and not given. यहाँ पे देखो true, false, not given नहीं, yes, no, not given है. तो एग्जाम में yes, no बोला है तो yes, no, true, false बोला हो तो true, false, right? So we'll read the 10 sentence first. The needs of students in school have led to improvements in the teaching of history. 11th one, academic and popular historians have different attitudes towards the value of innovations in communication. 12th, it is common for historians to play a major role in creating historical documentaries for television. 13th one, articles in American History Review have explored aspects of modern history through popular films. And 14th one, developments in technology are influencing a range of academic subjects. Now, these five, I think, yeah, five questions. Aniket, can you repeat them? Read all of them out for us. Starting here. Aniket, are you available? Is everybody sleeping today?
Yes. Yes,
Yes?
ma'am.
ठीक है चलो
Ma'am,
10th वाले
actually, I
से.
thought that my mic is on, but it was not.
कोई बात
Sorry.
नहीं, it's okay.
10 number. The
Hmm.
needs of students in school have
Hmm.
led to improvements in the teaching of history. 11 number. Academic and popular historians have different attitudes towards the value of innovation in the communication. 12 number.
Communication, right? कल बताया था ना, not communication but communication. Come.
mm,
Okay.
12 number. It is common for historians to play a major role in creating historical documentaries for television.
Okay.
30 number. Article in American History Review have explored aspects of
Hmm.
modern history through popular films.
All right.
14 number. Development in technology are influencing a range of academic subjects.
All right. So we've gone through all of the questions. Is there any question that any of you have not understood? Dwani, Kaushal, Aisha, Tejas, Aniket, हरिओम, इफ यू आर हियर, एनी क्वेश्चन जहां पे आपको फर्दर क्लेरिफिकेशन चाहिए, ऐसा लगता है?
No,
नो.
no.
ओके, सो नाउ लेट्स मूव ऑन टू द पैसेज. अब क्वेश्चंस को एंटायरली भूल जाओ, ठीक है? वील मूव ऑन टू द पैसेज. मैं थोड़ा सा जूम कर देती हूँ, सो पीपल हु आर ट्रैवलिंग एंड यू हैव योर मोबाइल्स विथ यू, आप अच्छे से देख पाओगे. Let's start reading. I will read a paragraph and then it will be repeated by one of you. So, when I am reading a paragraph, I expect you to listen very carefully. I expect you to listen in a way that जब आपकी बारी आएगी read करने की, then you pay attention to my pronunciations. आप वो गलतियां ना करो. You are able to read correctly, ठीक है? आप ध्यान से सुनोगे तो आप correctly ही read करोगे. So, every single word you pay attention to so that when you read, then it's flawless. ठीक है? I'll start with the heading. A new stage in the study and teaching of history. Intro. For hundreds of years, historians have relied on written or printed documents to provide the bulk of their source materials, and they have largely communicated with students and the wider public by writing books and journal articles. Today, however, the printed word is being superseded ओवरटेकन, सुपरसीड करना मतलब उसको पीछे छोड़ जाना, ठीक है. टुडे हावेवर द प्रिंटेड वर्ड is being superseded by a diversity of forms of communication, above all, moving images on video or film. So, the heading and intro. Dwani, if you can read this much very slowly.
Yes, ma'am. A new stage in the study and teaching of history.
Hmm?
For hundreds of years, historians have relied on written or printed documents to provide the bulk of their source materials, and they have largely communicated with students and the wider public by writing books and journal articles.
Journal. ये
Today,
general नहीं है, journal है, right?
journal.
Hmm?
Today, however, the printed verse is being superseded
Hmm?
by a diversity of forms of communication. Above all, moving image on videos or film.
Okay. So basically, what they are trying to say is that hundreds of years से historians किस चीज पे डिपेंड करते आए हैं. रिलाई करना मतलब डिपेंड करना, ठीक है. रिलाई करना मतलब किसी चीज पे डिपेंड करना. historians have relied on, वो लोग हिस्ट्री लिखते थे ऑन प्रिंटेड डॉक्यूमेंट्स, बुक्स, थिंग्स लाइक दैट. वो मटेरियल को हम पढ़ के हिस्ट्री के बारे में जानते थे. दैट्स हाउ स्टूडेंट्स लर्नड अबाउट हिस्ट्री. That's how the wider public learnt about it. But आज written material को क्या पीछे छोड़ गया है? Movies, films, documents. So the printed word is being superseded, is being overtaken by a diversity of forms of communication, and mainly we are talking about moving images, that is films की बात हो रही है, ठीक है. Now let's come to paragraph A. Para A, the development of this new form of communication is leading to a growing gap between the practice of professional historians based in academia and the practice of those aiming to popularize the study of history among the general public and to encourage people to create their own records for the future. On the one hand, there are mainstream academics who continue to use only the written word as they examine more and more fields with an ever increasing number of sophisticated methodologies. On the other hand, film and video, especially as broadcast on television, are probably the major influence on the public's consciousness of history as they see film of events of 50 or 100 years ago, events they had previously only read about. Kaushal, if you can take this up.
The development of this new form of communication is leading to a growing gap between the practice of professional historians based in academia and the practice of those aiming to popularize the study of history among the general public
Hmm?
and to encourage people to create their own records for the future. On the other hand, there are mainstream academics who continue to use only the written word as they examine more and more fields with an ever increasing number of sophisticated methodologies. On the other hand, film and video, especially as broadcast on television, are probably the major influence on the public's consciousness of history as they see film of events of 50 or 100 years ago, events they had previously only read about.
Very nice. Okay. Paragraph B. ठीक है? Aniket, you pay attention. You will be reading this one. ठीक है? So no mistakes. Para B. In a related development, a great many people now document local and family events in the form of videos. Many schools too produce video yearbooks. All these visual records may well prove to be invaluable sources of information for future historians. The glaring contradiction, ग्लेरिंग मतलब समथिंग जो छुपा हुआ नहीं है, जो तुरंत हमको दिख जाए, उसको एकदम ऑब्वियस जो होता है उसको ग्लेरिंग बोलते हैं. एंड कॉन्ट्राडिक्शन मतलब ऑपोजिट्स, डिफरेंस. ठीक है. द ऑब्वियस डिफरेंस, the glaring contradiction is that the two approaches, कौन से दो approaches? The academic and दूसरा है the popular. ठीक है. The glaring contradiction is that the two approaches, one, the academic, and two, what we might term the popular, have intersected very little, with a few notable exceptions. Professional historians have tended to avoid involvement in television programs about history and have even less impact on what is being captured and preserved on video. And the potential of moving images has wielded negligible influence on the academic study of हिस्ट्री. मतलब दोनों का एक दूसरे पे कोई प्रभाव रहा ही नहीं है. देखो यहाँ पे ये बता रहे हैं कि जो ग्लेरिंग कॉन्ट्राडिक्शन है, मतलब दोनों के बीच जो मेन डिफरेंस है, ठीक है, द ग्लेरिंग कॉन्ट्राडिक्शन माने मेन डिफरेंस between the two approaches. कौन से दो approach? The academic approach and what we might term as the popular approach. ये दोनों के बीच का contradiction ये है कि दोनों का intersection बहुत कम हुआ है. इंटरसेक्शन आप लोगों को पता है, जो पॉइंट पे दो रास्ते मिलते हैं वो पॉइंट को इंटरसेक्शन बोलते हैं, राइट? सो इनका कहना ये है કે એવું બહુ રેરલી થયું છે કે એકેડેમિક અને પોપ્યુલર અપ્રોચ બંને ક્યાંક મળ્યા હોય. That is very very rare. ऐसे खाली कुछ few notable exceptions रहे हैं. Other than that, it has never happened. And then they are giving an example also. जैसे कि for example, अगर हम professional historians की बात करें, professional historians have tended to avoid involvement in television programs about history. ये जो professional academic historians होते हैं, वो लोग हिस्ट्री रिलेटेड जो टेलीविजन प्रोग्राम्स वगैरह बनते हैं उसमें इन्वॉल्व होना प्रेफर नहीं करते हैं. दे हैव टेंडेड टू अवॉइड एंड दे हैव इवन लेस इम्पैक्ट ऑन व्हाट इज बीइंग कैप्चर्ड एंड प्रिजर्व्ड ऑन वीडियो. वीडियो पे जो भी बन रहा है, कैप्चर हो रहा है, उस पे भी उनका कोई इम्पैक्ट रहता नहीं है. एंड सेकेंडली, द पोटेंशियल ऑफ मूविंग इमेजेस, वीडियोस है, फिल्म्स है, उसका भी कोई इन्फ्लुएंस नहीं रहा है. द पोटेंशियल ऑफ मूविंग इमेजेस हैज wielded नेग्लिजिबल इन्फ्लुएंस, उसका भी मामूली सा कहीं पे इन्फ्लुएंस रहा होगा ऑन द एकेडमिक स्टडी ऑफ हिस्ट्री. सो दोनों का एक दूसरे पे कोई खास इम्पैक्ट हुआ नहीं है. That is what this entire paragraph is trying to say. So Aniket, you can read this very slowly. एक भी मिस्टेक्स प्रोनाउंसिएशंस में नहीं, जहां पे बहुवचन है वहां पे लगाना एंड धीरे धीरे पढ़ना. ठीक है, यू कैन स्टार्ट.
In a related development, a great many people now document local and family events in the form of videos. Many schools too produce video yearbook. All these visual recordings may well prove to be invaluable sources of information for future historians.
हम्म.
The glaring contradiction is that the two approaches, the
हम्म.
academic and what we might term the popular, have intersected very
हम्म.
little,
हम्म.
with the few notice,
નોટેબલ,
notable
નોટેબલ એટલે કે નોંધનીય.
Okay.
Notable exceptions.
Notable exceptions. Professional historians have tend to avoid involvement in television programs about history and have even less impact on what is being captured
Hmm.
and preserved on video. And the potential of moving images have wielded negligible influence on the academic study of history.
Very nice. Sailesh bhai, since you have just joined, and I would like you to catch up with what we are reading. Do you want to very quickly? हमने यहाँ तक ही read किया है. देखो, para B तक ही read किया है. We've of course gone through all the questions. Paragraph B तक आपको quickly read aloud कर जाना है, so that you are all caught up with us.
No, that's fine, ma'am. We can continue.
पीछे से problem होगा. People will wait. It's
Oh,
okay.
okay.
जितनी
Okay,
बार read
fine.
करे कम ही है हमारे लिए, है ना?
Okay.
चलो. From here, we'll not be very careful about एक word correct जा रहा है. We'll try to just take in the info really quickly from the heading. You can read a
Uh,
little loudly. We'll all stay with you,
yeah.
don't worry.
A new stage in the study and teaching of history.
Nice.
For hundreds of years, historians have relied on written on or written or printed documents to provide the bulk of their source materials, and they
Hmm.
have largely communicated with students and the wider public by writing books and journal
Hmm.
articles. Today, however, the printed word is being surrendered by
The
diversity.
printed word. Today, however, the printed word is
The
being
printed word is being sub-
superseded, मतलब overtaken.
superseded.
Overtaken.
Hmm. Printed word is being superseded by diversity of forms of communication about all moving images on video or film.
डाइजेस्ट करना है तो कर लो एक बार क्या लिखा था ये पैराग्राफ में कि अभी तक हिस्टोरियंस नॉर्मली रिलाई करते थे रिटन या प्रिंटेड डॉक्यूमेंट्स पे राइट हिस्ट्री पढ़ाने के
Yeah,
लिए whether to students or to the wider public through books through articles and things like that but आज printed word को पीछे छोड़ दिया जा रहा है it is being overtaken superseded by other forms of communication जैसे कि वीडियो और फिल्म ठीक है पैरा ए
images.
या
Hmm.
para A.
Uh, yeah. The development of this new form of communication is leading to growing gap between the practice of
Hmm.
professional historians
Hmm.
based in academia and the practice of those aiming to popularize the study of history among the general public and to encourage people to create their own records for the future. On the one hand, there are mainstream academia who continue to use only the written word
Hmm.
as they
Examine.
more examine more and more fields
Hmm.
with an over increasing number of sophisticated methodologies.
Hmm.
On the other hand, film and video, especially a broadcast on television, are probably the major influence on the public's consciousness of history,
Hmm.
as they see film of events of 50, 50 or
हाँ.
100 years ago, event events they had previously only read about.
ओके तो क्विकली देख लेते हैं कि ये जो न्यू फॉर्म ऑफ कम्युनिकेशन का डेवलपमेंट हुआ है मतलब
Hmm.
वीडियोस की बात हो रही है उसके वजह से देर इज अ ग्रोइंग गैप किसके बीच गैप है एक तरफ तो अपने एकेडमिक प्रोफेशनल हिस्टोरियंस एंड दूसरे तरफ पीपल हु आर ट्राइंग टू popularize the study of history through videos and things like that so on the one hand है अपने mainstream academics who continue to use only the written word ठीक है एंड दूसरे हैंड पे ऑन द अदर हैंड वी हैव फिल्म एंड वीडियोस जो टेलीविजन वगैरह पे ब्रॉडकास्ट होते हैं एंड दे हैव अ मेजर इन्फ्लुएंस ऑन द पब्लिक्स कॉन्शियसनेस ऑफ हिस्ट्री व्हाई because now they are able to see a film of events that took place 50 years ago, 100 years ago. These events that previously they had only read about, now they can actually see it on TV, you know. If we are watching a
Hmm.
historical period drama from 100 years ago, हम वो costumes देख सकते हैं, हम वो setup देख सकते हैं, we can see the kind of homes they lived in. So it's very interesting for people to watch.
Hmm.
पैराग्राफ बी, a slightly important paragraph, तो रश बिल्कुल नहीं करना है, शांति से रीड करो, इट्स ऑल राइट.
In a related development, a great many people now document local and family event in the form of videos. Many schools too produce video yearbooks. All these visual records may well proven well may well prove to be invaluable sources of information for future historians.
हम्म.
This glory of contradiction is
हमने एक्चुअली ये
that
वर्ड किया यहाँ पे, दिस ग्लेरिंग कॉन्ट्राडिक्शन.
this glaring contradiction
ગ્લેરિંગ
is
એટલે
that
કોઈ પણ વસ્તુ જે એકદમ ઓબ્વિયસ હોય, આપણને તરત દેખાઈ આવે, રાઈટ. ઓબ્વિયસ ને ગ્લેરિંગ કહેવાય, અને કોન્ટ્રાડિક્શન એટલે બંને વચ્ચેનું અંતર. ધ ગ્લેરિંગ કોન્ટ્રાડિક્શન, ધ મેઇન ડિફરન્સ.
the glaring contradiction is that the two approaches, the academic and what we might term the popular,
આ બે
have in,
અપ્રોચેસ છે, રાઈટ. વન સાઇડ
yeah,
એકેડેમિક અપ્રોચ,
have
વન સાઇડ પોપ્યુલર.
intersected very little. Yeah, have very have interacted very little, with a few notable exceptions. Professional historians have tended to avoid involvement in television programs about history and have even less impact on what is being captured and preserved on video. And the potential of moving images has wielded negligible influence on academic study of history.
ओके, सो बेसिकली यहाँ पे यही बोल रहे शैलेश भाई कि when we talk about, you know, the main differences between the two approaches, one approach is the academic approach and second approach is the popular approach. ये दोनों approaches intersect बहुत कम हुए हैं. Intersection आपको पता है, जहाँ पे दो रास्ते मिलते हैं, right? That point is an intersection. तो ये दोनों approaches बहुत rarely मिले हैं एक दूसरे को, just with a few notable exceptions. हंसे में भी रेयर कोई एवा हंसे. सो दे आर गिविंग एन एग्जाम्पल कि एक तरफ जो हमारे प्रोफेशनल हिस्टोरियंस होते हैं, दे completely prefer to avoid any involvement in television program and things like that, and उनका कोई impact नहीं होता है, they have very less impact on videos and things like that also. And on the other hand, ये जो films वगैरह है, moving images है, they also have very negligible influence on academic study of history. मतलब ये movies वगैरह का भी academics के ऊपर negligible, मामूली सा ही influence रहा है, कोई खास influence रहा नहीं है. Now coming to paragraph C. यहाँ से सबका बाकी है, ठीक है. Para C. This gulf can be seen as resulting from the willingness or otherwise of individual historians to accept the validity of new forms of communication in the study of history. This is not the first time that the question has arisen. The study of history, as conceived of today, began with the transition from oral to literate culture, leading to the earliest written records and the earliest historical studies. See, I'm going to read this again. Please pay attention. ये जो gap है, ये gulf है, ठीक है? It is a result of ये जो historians है, उनका willingness या unwillingness to accept new forms of communication. हमेशा जब कोई नया form of communication आता है या कोई भी change आता है, people resist the change. वो लोग जल्दी accept करना नहीं चाहते हैं, ठीक है? So there are many individual historians who don't want to accept the validity of new forms of communication in the study of history. અને આ પહેલી વખત નથી થયું. इसके पहले भी there was a transition. Transition मतलब change from oral to literate culture. लाइक अ वेरी लॉन्ग टाइम बैक, जब हमारे पास राइटिंग नहीं था, राइट, एक टाइम पे लोग केव्स पे ड्राइंग बनाते थे, उसके भी पहले जब वैसा कुछ नहीं था, तब हिस्ट्री कैसे पास डाउन हुआ होगा? पीपल वुड बी टेलिंग स्टोरीज टू देयर नेक्स्ट जनरेशंस, राइट? ग्रैंड मदर स्टोरी बताती होगी ग्रैंड चाइल्ड को, वो अपने नेक्स्ट जनरेशन को बताता है. सो दिस इज ओरल ट्रेडिशन. ओरल ट्रेडिशन से जो प्रिजर्व हुआ है, पहले वो था, बाद में लिखित हो गया, बाद में इट बिकेम लिटरेट कल्चर. वो टाइम पे भी पीपल वुड हैव रेजिस्टेड. दैट्स व्हाट दे आर ट्राइंग टू से, that the study of history जो आज है, it actually began with the transition from oral to literate culture, leading to the earliest written records and the earliest historical studies. ये पहला चेंज था. The next great shift came with the advent of printing, which transformed everything. And today, as the printed word loses its dominance, historians are faced with a variety of forms of communication, ranging from simple audio tape to the promising complexities of video discs linked with computers. So, see, there have been three stages of change. Pehle, verbal, oral storytelling, right? Oral passing down. Then, written. Today, even the written word is losing its importance, and we are transitioning to audio and video. As yet, however, the use of moving images to record current events for the benefit of future historians does not even have a commonly agreed name. Again, a very important paragraph. Kaushal, Shanti se isko read karo. And if you've not understood anything in this paragraph, ask.
This gulf can be seen as a resulting from the willingness or otherwise of individual historians to accept the validity of new forms of communication in the study of history. This is not the first time that the question has arisen.
Very good.
The study of history, as conceived of today, began with the
Began.
transition from oral
Began.
to began,
Hmm.
begun,
नहीं.
began,
हाँ. BEGUN होता तो begun होता. Begin, begun, began.
began. Okay, began
Hmm.
with the transition from oral to literate culture, leading to the earliest written records and the
Hmm.
earliest historical studies. The next great shift came with the advent of printing, which transformed everything. Today, as the printed word loses its dominance, historians are faced with a variety of forms of communication, ranging from simple audio tape to the promising complexities of video discs linked with computers. Yes, yet, however, the use of moving images to record current events for the benefit of future historians does not even have a commonly agreed name.
Very nice, Kaushal. Your reading, your pronunciations have improved a lot. मैंने I think कल भी बोला था. I'm seeing great change in your performance. Nice. Okay.
Yes,
Para DNE, आयशा ध्वनि दोनों available हो अभी?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, Aisha, how
मैम
about you? Okay. तो पैरा डी ध्वनि ले लेना एंड ई एफ. आयशा काफी टाइम तक आप बोल नहीं पाए हो ना, ई और एफ आपको देती हूँ, ठीक है? सो लेट्स स्टार्ट विथ डी. This does not mean that mainstream historians have totally rejected the use of moving images as sources. Moving images मतलब वीडियो ही हुआ गाइस, ठीक है? सो इसका मतलब ये भी नहीं है कि मेनस्ट्रीम हिस्टोरियंस ने कंप्लीटली रिजेक्ट किया हुआ है वीडियोस को. The majority seem intrigued by the idea. देखो, आप किसी चीज से इंट्रीग्ड होते हो. INTRIGUE मतलब आप वो चीज के बारे में जिज्ञासा रखते हो. It means that you are curious about something. I am very intrigued to know more about the history of France. मतलब उसके बारे में जानने के लिए मैं आतुर हूं, मुझे जिज्ञासा है. सो आप तब बोल सकते हो आई एम इंट्रिग्ड. या कोई चीज आपको इंट्रीगिंग लगती है, आई फाइंड द स्टडी ऑफ एआई very intriguing. You can be intrigued, I am intrigued, and something can be intriguing. Okay, so it doesn't mean that mainstream historians have totally rejected the use of moving images as sources. The majority seem intrigued by the idea, and valuable research has been carried out into the history and analysis of films with a broad circulation, using them as a source of information on the social and intellectual history of the 20th century. Journals such as American History Review have played a significant role in this field. Dwani, you try.
This does not mean that mainstream historians have totally rejected the use of moving image as sources. The majority seems intrigued by the idea, and a valuable research has been carried out into the history and analysis of forms. With the more
Circulation.
circumstance,
Circulation.
circulation, using
Hmm.
them as a source of information on the social and intellectual history of the 20th century. Journals such as American History Review have played a significant role in this field.
Okay. Moving on to the next paragraph. Yet, tem chhattapan. Yet, however, है ना? Yet, the number of historians using moving images in their research or in their teaching is very small. The barrier એટલે કે અડચણ, okay? The barrier seems to be that the profession is structured around the medium of the written word and is somewhat insulated in its academic setting. It is somewhat covered, protected, insulated in its academic setting. The use of moving images presents a substantial challenge to this setting and its assumptions. As a result, historians have rejected the training, the institutions, the motivations, and the professional structures that would be needed in order to use moving images effectively. Above all, they have rejected the necessity to learn complicated new skills. Aisha, you can read this.
Yet the number of historians using moving images in their research or teaching is very small. The barrier seems to be that profession is structured around the medium of the written word and somewhat insulated in its academic setting.
Good.
The using of moving images present a substantial challenge to these settings and its assumption. As a result, historians have rejected the training,
Hmm.
the insulation, the
Institutions.
institution, the motivation,
Hmm.
and the professional structure that would be needed in order to using moving images effectively. Above all, they have rejected the necessity to learn complicated new skill.
Right? Nobody wants to learn a
Afraid
complicated
कर दो.
new skills, right? So they don't want to do it. अब F पे जाते हैं आगे, ठीक है? So,
Okay.
Why should historians make this change? Abhi tak we are talking about how historians have not been willing to accept this change. Now arises the question, why should historians make this change? Okay. So clearly, films or videos of events and people can be used as solid evidence of the past, linked to the words of the narrator, whether a television presenter, historian, or a university teacher giving a lecture, but carrying information in their own right. Film has reintroduced the oral form as a mode of research and communication for documenting historical events. Now, with moving images, people are again reminded that oral communication is not limited to words. It also includes body language, expression, and tone, and is embedded in a context. Little of this is evident in a written transcript. अगर हम दोनों के बीच जो बात हो रही है उसको खाली एज अ ट्रांसक्रिप्ट छाप दिया गया, राइट? तो वो पढ़ के किसी को हमारे इमोशंस के बारे में मालूम नहीं पड़ेगा. पीपल विल नॉट बी एबल टू अंडरस्टैंड दैट हम कहाँ पे भावुक हो रहे हैं, वेर आर वी डूइंग समथिंग दैट्स फनी, हमारा सेंस ऑफ ह्यूमर. But if it is recorded in the form of a video, in the form of an audio, then we are able to understand those contextual cues as well, right? So, repeating this again, pay attention here. People are reminded that oral communication is not limited to words. It also includes body language, expression, and tone, and is embedded in a context. Little of this is evident in a written transcript. Written transcript માંથી આ બધી વસ્તુઓ ખબર ના પડે. A further effect of video and film is that the narrator gives up some control and has less need to give explanations, while the viewer becomes involved in the process of interpreting and understanding history. I would like to go back to Sailesh Bhai for this paragraph.
Okay. So why should historians make this change? Clearly, films or videos of events are and people can be used as a solid evidence of the past, linked to the words of the narrators. Whether a television presenter, historian, or a university teachers giving a lecture, but carrying information in their own rights. Film has reintroduced the oral form as a mode of research and communication for documenting historical events.
Hmm?
Now, with these moving images, people are reminded that oral communication is not limited to words.
Hmm?
It also includes body language, expression, and tone, and is embedded in context.
Hmm?
Detail of this is evident. Detail of this is evident in written transcript.
Little of this એટલે કે બહુ જ ઓછું રે, hardly, ये negative है, hardly, not much.
Yeah. A further effect of video and film is that the narrator
Hmm?
gives up some control and has less need to give explanations,
Hmm?
while the viewers becomes involved in process of interpreting and understanding history.
Okay. Last paragraph, guys. Paragraph number G. End है ये. Film or videotape can also aid historians. Aid का मतलब होता है help करना, ठीक है? Film or videotape can also aid historians. आप ऐसे sentences अपने essay writing में बनाओ. Film or videotape can also aid historians by simplifying the work of the interviewer. Instead of trying to carry on an interview while simultaneously, simultaneously मतलब साथ साथ में, जोड़े जोड़े, While I am taking your session, I am also simultaneously cooking. So that means कि आपका session लेते लेते मैं बाजू में cooking भी कर रही हूँ, if I were. So બે વસ્તુઓ જોડે કરવી. Instead of trying to carry on an interview while simultaneously making notes about setting and other unspoken data, this new kind of historian can concentrate on the interview itself. क्योंकि सब कुछ वीडियो में आ रहा है, so he can concentrate on the video, right? And study the film later. The many benefits of using moving images as historical evidence easily outweigh worries about cost, technical skills, or the effect of a camera on a person telling his or her story. So here they are trying to say कि moving images use करने के जो benefits है ना, वो बेनिफिट्स आउटवे कर जाती है. मतलब बेनिफिट्स कई ज्यादा है, दे आर मच मच मोर. द बेनिफिट्स आर मोर देन द डिसएडवांटेजेस. ठीक है, तो उसके लिए वर्ड यूज होता है आउटवे. The benefits of using moving images easily outweigh all the negatives. Jemke worries about the cost, technical skills, effect of camera, etc. Moving images enhance the quality of historical research and suggest new directions for historians to explore. आयशा आप वापस कर लो रीड, बहुत कम किया है आज.
Fillmore videotape can also aid historians by simplifying the work. The interviewer, instead of trying to carry on an interview while
Simultaneously.
simultaneously making a notes
Hmm.
about setting and other unspoken data.
Hmm.
This is a new kind of historians can concentrate on the interview itself
Okay.
and study the film
Okay.
later. The many benefit of using moving images as a historical
Hmm.
evidence easily over
Outweigh. Outweigh.
outweigh worries about the cost, technical skill, or the effect of camera on a person telling his or her story.
Hmm.
Moving images enhance the quality of historical research and suggest new direction for the historians to explore.
All right. So we've completed the reading, and the way that we've read, the thoroughness with which we've read, the details that we've gone into, I don't think solving the question should be a problem at all now. Okay. I know Tejas will probably not be able to solve, but everybody else, you can start. आप ये लिंक अपने में ओपन कर सकते हो, क्योंकि मैं आपको दिखाती हूँ ये कैसे सॉल्व करना है. वेट, आई जस्ट शेयर माय स्क्रीन अगेन. शेयरिंग हियर. यू कैन सी यहाँ पे आपको ऑप्शंस है, ऑप्शन ए बी सी डी. सो यू विल फिल इन ऑल द आंसर्स. नीचे टाइमर चलता रहेगा, यू कैन अवॉइड दैट फॉर नाउ. एंड इन द एंड व्हाट वी डू इज सबमिट एंड वी कैन चेक इट टुगेदर. ठीक है, सो यू कैन ऑल स्टार्ट ऑन योर ओन स्क्रीन्स. वीव रेड द पैसेज टुगेदर. लिंक दिया हुआ है. I'll be on mute. You all can also stay on mute. Take around 10-12 minutes. Should not take 20 minutes now. देखते हैं. Your time starts now. I'll also solve with you, okay? कोई क्वेश्चन समझ में ना आए तो पूछते जाना, मैं आप लोग के साथ ही सॉल्व कर रही हूँ, ठीक है? या कोई कंफ्यूजन हो, डायरेक्शन चाहिए तो बोलना।
Can you share the question link with me?
Oh, I
Actually,
haven't
I
shared it
couldn't.
with you.
No, ma'am.
Hang on, hang on.
Actually, I messaged you. But
All right, here. Here's the link, okay? Anybody who's not able to find the answers, don't worry. अभी हम थोड़ी देर में साथ में करेंगे, ठीक है? So I'll guide you at that time. Don't worry. किसी का हुआ है? आई हैव कंप्लीटेड। हो गया हो तो चैट पे लिखो डन। कौशल, शैलेश।
Still working on. Yeah, I'm doing.
Okay, I'm sure you all are taking some time, but we have to now start thinking about the time limit that will be allowed in the exam as well. So, would you all be okay if we continued and proceeded to discussion? ठीक है. I would like all of you to try and submit your answers. नहीं भी करोगे तो चलेगा. मैंने सारे answers निकाल के रखे हैं. I will share my screen. आप मेरे साथ compare करके अपने अपने answers check कर लेना, ठीक है? मैं वापस शेयर करती हूँ.
So
Quick
while we
question.
submit, I think it gives the answer.
It probably will. Yes, yes, it does.
It gives actually, yeah.
But then you'll lose your original answer. Maybe, I don't know.
No,
It'll
it
still
gives,
be
it
there.
compares, it gives the result as well.
Okay, fine. Whatever is comfortable. Otherwise, also यहाँ पे है. So you can view here as well. ठीक है? So जिन जिन को answers नहीं भी मिला हो, ध्यान देना. Aniket, pay attention. Aisha, I know you face some difficulties. तेजस से हो पाया है कि नहीं, I'm not very sure. Um, ठीक है. हरिओम तो आज passively he is attending. Let's start with the first one. An overview of the range of methods that have been used over time to document history. मतलब हिस्ट्री को डॉक्यूमेंट करने के लिए ओवर द इयर्स कौन से अलग अलग मेथड्स का इस्तेमाल हुआ है. दिस वेरी क्विकली आई रोट डाउन सी, क्योंकि यहाँ पे मुझे दिख रहा है कि हमने बात शुरू की थी पहले ओरल, कि पहले मुंह से बोल के हिस्ट्री बताई जाती थी. फिर आया था रिटन रिकॉर्ड्स के बारे में, फिर लोगों ने लिखना शुरू किया था. रिटन में भी फिर प्रिंटिंग की शुरुआत हुई, एडवेंट ऑफ प्रिंटिंग. और अब जाके ऑडियो एंड वीडियो की भी बात हो रही है. सो ऑल ऑफ दीज थिंग्स टू मी, मुझे पता चला कि ये सारे अलग अलग रेंज ऑफ मेथड्स है जिनको यूज किया है ओवर टाइम इन ऑर्डर टू डॉक्यूमेंट हिस्ट्री. सो मैंने आंसर सी लिखा था. कितने लोगों का करेक्ट है? जस्ट टेल मी योर नेम्स.
Me.
I
कौशल.
have all correct in this first paragraph.
Oh,
Only two wrong in the fill in the blanks. Middle two was wrong.
you mean true false?
11 and 11 and 12 is only wrong. Otherwise, all are
अच्छा
correct.
अच्छा 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 अच्छा. कौशल आपका क्या है, कितने करेक्ट है?
फर्स्ट 9 मैंने किए थे, उसमें से 8 करेक्ट है, एक रॉन्ग है.
ओके, कौन सा
नंबर
गलत है?
8.
नंबर 8.
आई
कोई बात
थिंक
नहीं. तो मैं
या
पहले
नंबर 8, यस.
कौशल एंड शैलेश भाई का डाउट सॉल्व कर देती हूँ. सो कौशल एंड बाकी लोग भी सुन ही सकते हो ऑफ कोर्स. आपका नंबर 8 था, रेफरेंस टू द एक्टिव रोल द ऑडियंस प्लेज व्हाइल वॉचिंग फिल्म्स. तो पिक्चर देखते वक्त ऑडियंस भी क्या रोल प्ले करती है, राइट? तो ऑडियंस के बारे में एक ही जगह पे लिखा है, पैराग्राफ नंबर एफ में. एंड ऑडियंस के जगह पे यहाँ पे वर्ड यूज किया है व्यूअर, जो उसको देख रहा है, देखने वाला. सो बेसिकली सिनोनिम यूज किया है, समानार्थी. एंड क्या है व्यूअर का रोल? कि व्यूअर बिकम्स इन्वॉल्व इन द प्रोसेस ऑफ इंटरप्रेटिंग एंड अंडरस्टैंडिंग. सो इसमें व्यूअर भी एक्टिवली इंटरप्रेट करता है, अंडरस्टैंड करता है. एंड अदर देन दैट ऑडियंस के बारे में सिर्फ यहीं पे बात हुई है, व्यूअर, उसके अलावा कहीं पे हुई भी नहीं है. सो फॉर मी दैट्स हाउ आई रीच्ड this as the correct answer. Abhi, let's see, Sailesh Bhai had two answers wrong here. You said number 11 and 12.
11. Yeah, 11.
I also was initially confused about this.
I put not given. So
I
academic and
also
popular historian
initially
have
put not given.
different.
Academic and popular historians have different attitudes towards the value of innovations in communication. ये I think यहाँ से आया है. It's a little bit vague. The two different approaches कहाँ पे दिया हुआ था? The academic approach and what we might term the popular, ये पैराग्राफ के दोनों के बीच का glaring contradiction क्या है? So that came from here. Academic and popular historians
Okay.
have different attitudes. So the glaring contradiction in the two approaches. So that means they
Okay.
have different approaches. But it took me a while
Hmm.
also. I found it to be a little bit vague, to be very
Hmm.
honest. Number 12.
12
ये
I
कैसे
kept,
गलत हो गया? ये तो मैं
I
आपसे ही
mean,
ढूंढवाऊंगी.
नहीं मैंने आई सेड 12 में
हम्म.
मैंने क्या डाला है?
नॉट गिवन डाला होगा.
No, no, I have given yes.
It is common, બહુ જ common છે, for historians to play a major role in creating historical documents for television documentaries. आप ये read करो एक मिनट.
Only some of are interested. That's the something
नहीं,
mentioned.
this one यहाँ से लेके यहाँ तक.
Professional historians have tend to avoid involvement in television program about
हो
history.
गया ना.
Yeah,
सो
yeah,
इवन फॉर अदर्स आपकी भी गलती हुई हो तो प्रोफेशनल हिस्टोरियंस अवॉइड करते हैं उनका कोई भी इन्वॉल्वमेंट टेलीविजन प्रोग्राम्स में. और यहाँ पे ये बोला है कि इट इज कॉमन फॉर हिस्टोरियंस टू प्ले अ रोल इन क्रिएटिंग हिस्टोरिकल डॉक्यूमेंट्रीज. तो ऑफ कोर्स ये गलत है, तो नो आएगा. मैंने आप दोनों का
hmm,
पहले सॉल्व करवा दिया सो दैट यू बोथ कैन लीव इफ यू वांट. others have more doubts, I am aware about that.
yeah.
And you all can continue solving from this website. सारे timed है, आगे और tests है. Unless you want to go to sleep right now, that's another matter. But otherwise you all can try and solve from here. ठीक है?
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
Tomorrow I will be sharing a mock test for this weekend. So ये weekend सब लोग mock test करने बैठना जरूर. ठीक है?
Okay, thank you.
चलो,
Bye.
no problem. Yeah, bye
Sure,
bye.
thank you.
Yeah. Same to you,
Bye.
Kaushal, right? Okay. Now, Dhwani,
Yeah.
Aniket, Aisha, आप लोग आ जाओ. I'll stop the recording also. Right? I'll stop recording. We'll go into details now.